My story begins on a little island called Barbados, which many might know about. Just to clear things up, it's not Jamaica, though some folks mix them up. Barbados sits in the Caribbean Sea and is known for its beautiful beaches and friendly locals, making it a popular spot for tourists. While it's not typically associated with spooky stories, we do have our share of local legends. One such story has stuck with me, and I think you'll find it interesting. I was about 8 years old when the weirdness started. Honestly, my childhood memories are pretty hazy, with only a few specific moments really sticking out, both the good and the bad. The experience I'm about to share is one that has lodged itself in my mind and never really lets go. This was the time when my parents decided I was ready to have my own room. Before that, I had shared a space with my 2 older sisters, but my folks thought it was time for me to grow up. They cleaned out an old storage room and transformed it into my bedroom. I was super excited. To my young eyes, the room felt huge. Even if looking back, it wasn't that big at all. It was a space I could finally call my own. Still, as thrilled as I was also a kid with a fear of the dark. Many nights, I'd have my eldest sister or my mom stay with me until I drifted off to sleep, mainly because I'd hear strange noises outside my window or catch glimpses of shadows. Of course, it's totally normal for kids to let their imaginations run wild, and my family understood that. Fast forward a year, and I'd gotten used to my new room. I no longer needed anyone to put me to bed. However, there was one thing that still bothered me: my window. It faced a neighbor's house, which was practically right next door, maybe 10 feet away. I even made friends with a kid who visited his grandparents there, and we'd chat through the window. But at night, I would sometimes hear a strange sound that resembled chains rattling near my window. I never saw anything that could make that noise from their side of the house, but it was hard to ignore. Out of fear, I kept the curtains drawn and the window locked. Whenever I brought it up to my mom, she'd just chuckle and say, "Oh, don't worry about it. That's just the steel donkey dragging its chains at night, ready to snatch up naughty kids like you." Her idea of a joke had me terrified. I mean, a monster donkey trying to drag me off? I couldn't shake the image from my mind, so I kept that window shut tight. Then came the night that changed everything. I was staying up late, watching some cartoons on Cartoon Network. I remember it clearly. It was an episode of the real Teen Titans, not that watered-down version they play now. My parents were out with my sisters, and I was perfectly content. But as I was enjoying my show, I heard it again, the sound of chains dragging, but this time it was coming from the back of the house, away from my room. My heart dropped. As I sat there, trying to focus on the TV and block out the noise, it gradually moved closer. Now it was right at the window near my bedroom door. Seriously, how did the sound get so close? I was just frozen in fear, heart racing, and then I heard something else. Hooves tapping against the floor right outside my door. Each thud was like a hammer to my chest. I mustered the courage to scream, "It's at the door! It wants me!" My sisters rushed out of their rooms, freaking out and asking what was wrong. They pulled open the curtain by the door and peeked outside, but they saw nothing. They told me it was late and I really should go to bed, as if that was possible after what just happened. I made my oldest sister stay with me until I finally fell asleep. That night passed without any further incidents, but it didn't stay calm forever. A bit later, my oldest sister was in love with a guy who wanted to marry her. She was head over heels and left home to start a new life with him. My other sister and I didn't have the best relationship, and without my oldest sister's support, I felt pretty alone. My parents were busy with all sorts of issues, including my dad being in prison for a while, and it felt like I was left to fend for myself. Then things took a turn for the worse. One night, I was in the middle of a dream, wandering through a forest, when I heard someone calling my name. At first, it was hard to understand, but then it got louder, clearer, and suddenly I heard a voice shouting, "Wake up!" Just like that, I jolted awake. Something felt off immediately. I realized I was lying on my side, facing the window, but it was daylight, and the room was eerily silent. It was as if life itself had been sucked out of my space. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed a shadow lurking at the edge of my vision, just waiting for me. I couldn't move, not because I was scared, but because it felt like something was literally holding me in place, preventing me from turning around, like my instincts were screaming at me to stay still. But curiosity got the better of me. I slowly turned to look, and there it was, a dark figure hovering just behind my window curtain. Before I could scream, it lunged at me with a bone-chilling snarl. My mother rushed in and found me hyperventilating and crying. She held me close until I calmed down, and I told her all about it. She took my experiences seriously, and being someone who believed in the supernatural, wanted to do something about it. She contacted a priest who came to bless our home, claiming our house had been affected by some negative energy from all the turmoil we'd been through. Between my family fighting, my dad's troubles, and my sister leaving, it made sense. The priest burned sage and prayed throughout the night, and for a brief moment, it felt like things had lightened up in our home. But the relief didn't last long. The very next day, my sister and I got into a fight, and my mom sent me to my room. I flopped onto my bed, yelling into my pillow out of frustration when suddenly I heard a loud crash. I looked up just in time to see my fan had fallen over, with parts scattered across the floor. My mom stormed in, demanding to know if I broke the fan. I told her I hadn't, but she didn't believe me. I got grounded for a week and had to sleep in my stifling room with no fan. So desperate for relief, I cracked open my window while sleeping. That night I woke up again to the sound of chains, but this time they were inside my room. My bed had been moved after the incident with the fan, so now my window was directly at the foot of my bed. I was almost ready to get up and close the window when I noticed something. My door was wide open, and there stood a tall figure watching me. It was dark, and I couldn't make out its face, but I felt its stare boring into me. Frozen in fear, I somehow managed to whisper out, "Dad?" I knew it couldn't be him, but it didn't respond. I tried again. "Mom!" Nothing. It just stood there silently, the chains rattling as it loomed over me. I squeezed my eyes shut, wishing the moment away, hoping that I would somehow drift back to sleep, which I eventually did after what felt like an eternity. Just before I fully fell asleep, I heard a deep voice whisper, "Sweet dreams." After that night, I never encountered that thing again. I later found the truth about the steel donkey my mom joked about. Stories of a donkey that dragged the souls of enslaved people long ago. It's said that once you hear its chains, it's best to keep your windows shut to keep those spirits out. I'm now 23 and living back in that house with my parents, and while a lot has changed, those memories still haunt me. Even if they were just figments of my imagination or terrible nightmares, I can't look back without a shiver going down my spine. That experience was both terrifying and memorable, and it's a part of my childhood I will never forget.